Welcome to the Alpha Mirror Podcast, the show where we strip away the ego, face the truth, and build the strongest version of you. Hosted by Jason Connor, combat veteran, NLP master practitioner, seven-figure business owner, and best-selling author of Parenting Your Inner Child. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to the Alpha Mirror. I'm your host, Jason Connor. If you want to come on the Alpha Mirror and sit in the chair, I ask you one question. What lie do you keep telling yourself that you wish wasn't true? We're going to strip away the ego. We're going to take off the mask, and we're going to get down to the bottom of breaking down all the myths about being an alpha, about your triggers, and really identifying where it's all coming from. I started this podcast for the simple fact that alphas, especially veterans, don't know how to ask for help because your buddies think you're weak. Your buddies will view you as a pussy. And I say, fuck your buddies, because your buddies are struggling just like you, hoping somebody else would reach out and help them. But they think you're going to tell them that they're weak, only if we were able to come together. Today, we are coming together, and I have a very, very special guest. My guest today is a two-time Gold Star family member, a Black Hawk Army aviator with 21 years of dedicated service. This man has known sacrifice and loss and service that most of you, maybe all of you, will never understand. I am proud to welcome my friend, your friend, Ryan Weaver. What's up, my brother?
On, folks? How you doing, man?
Man, welcome. So glad to see you.
Yeah, glad to see you too. It's been way too long.
It's been probably pushing 10 years.
That's crazy.
I know.
It doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't seem like it.
It has blown by so fast.
Obviously, I've been following your story for a long time, have done nothing but incredible things. Ryan is a true voice for the veteran and patriotic community. You will not find a better human than Ryan with everything he does, from his singing and songwriting, touring all over the country, being a motivational speaker, and everything he has done, especially with the loss that he has endured. We're going to get down to it today. I reached out to Ryan and asked him to be on the show because he is what this show is about. And thankfully he agreed. We just caught up and had lunch, and now we're here to break it open. So Ryan, when I first asked you to come on, you filled out my little intake form, and you had mentioned that you were doing the work yourself and really, just trying to get to that place where a lot of veterans struggle with, just where your mind is safe and we're able to live our life without reliving these triggers and causes us to have episodes and outbreaks. So I want you to tell all of our listeners, and we all worldwide, a little bit who you are, what you've done, where you come from, your story, and then lead that into why do you think other veterans, men and women, especially alphas, struggle with asking for help, especially if they come from a military background.
Well, real quick though, you asked what was the question? What is the lie you tell yourself?
What is the one lie you keep telling yourself that you wish wasn't true?
I wish I was tall like you. I wish I had hair.
I wish I was skinny like you, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, getting taken care of some. So I grew up in West Central Florida, large family. Went through a few stepmoms along the way. My dad married a few times. He's the greatest man I ever knew. And he passed away a couple years ago. But greatest man I've ever known. My brother, Steve, my oldest brother, we followed in his footsteps, essentially. My brother, Aaron, and I followed in his footsteps into the military. He was a ranger in the Ranger Regiment, 2nd of 75th, and then Aaron went in as a ranger in the 3rd of 75th. Aaron was in the event that Black Hawk Down was actually made after, so he was one of the, I'm moving, hold on. It was dropping. Hate it when that happens. anyway, he was in the event that Black Hawk Down was actually made after. He was one of the only non-commissioned officers to get shot in the whole thing. I took a little bit of a different route. I went military intelligence instead. And when I got stuck on recruiting duty in 98, 99 time frame. And recruiting duty sucks. It's a horrible job. It's as far away from the military as you possibly can be. I got mad respect for every recruiter that's out there, what it does to your family, all those things. Although you're not on the front lines, it is a huge sacrifice for your families. Anyway, I was there on a Sunday night, was about to take a kid into MEPS the next morning, Monday morning. So I was finishing off his paperwork at the last bit, making sure everything was quality controlled. And my brother Aaron was at Warrant Officer Candidate School. He had just finished Warrant Officer Candidate School. And he called me at the recruiting station and said, "Hey, Ryan, they changed the vision standards for flight school." Because I didn't think I had 20/20 vision at the time, which I actually did. But I put my flight packet in when I was an E4 at Schofield Barracks when you and I were both there together, which we just found out at lunch, which is kind of cool. But I put my flight packet in and I had something wrong with my pupil dilation, or something was off with it. And so I just kept trying and going and going and going. And eventually I ended up just like, maybe it's not meant to be. But I thought it was a vision thing. So anyway, he said they changed the vision standards to 2050 correctable to 20/20. You got to think about putting your packet in. So I did. And was selected at the next board to go to candidate school, and went down to Fort Rucker for Warrant Officer Candidate School and then flight school. Finished flight school in 2000, got restationed in Germany. Graduated top of my class in flight school. Was very fortunate to have both my brothers there at some time during flight school, because Aaron he had started flight school and I was just 3 months behind him, essentially getting through candidate school. So I had him there for his advice and his tutelage and mentorship. And, I owe a great deal of gratitude for graduating top of my class because of him. And his standard of performance was always mine. That's what I gauged whether I was being successful or not. In my military career, also as a kid growing up, running track, cross country, all those things, girls, you name it. Actually, he was more mean to girls than I ever was, but that was just Aaron. Anyway, so like I said, I finished flight school, became a Black Hawk aviator. I went to Hanau, Germany, was stationed in Hanau, Germany at Fliegerhorst Kaserne. And in 2003, went to combat with the 1st Armored Division, 2nd 501st Aviation, 4th Aviation Brigade. And we were at Baghdad International in the hangars there right after, I believe 2nd Infantry Division was there first. And we were the second wave that went in. And I didn't know Aaron was coming or was going to be over there with me, but because we were sending messages back and forth, letters back and forth to each other at the time. And we were talking about maybe I could get, because you got 2 weeks of can't remember what they called it, something leave. Anyway, you could go home for 2 weeks in the middle of the deployment. And I was thinking maybe I could go home for the holidays. And Aaron was he was messaging me like, "Yeah, come on, why don't you come and visit me, and then, we'll hang out for Thanksgiving or whatever it was." And he was already there. He was already in theater. He was with 82nd. So he was with the Cav with 82nd. He was actually already in theater, and he was just sending me. He wasn't sending me his.
That's what, yeah.
He was, because he was planning on coming over, because Baghdad International had the Bob Hope dining facility, this giant clamshell dining facility, and he was planning on coming over for Thanksgiving, to our Thanksgiving meal that they had offered up to fly, and it surprised me. And he did, actually. He did. It was kind of cool. But he actually ended up coming over before then, which was awesome. He came over before then on a... I can't remember what his mission was. They were doing something, and he surprised me even before then. So it was in October that year that he came by, and we got to hang out for the day and all kinds of stuff. But that was a pretty interesting, fun story for that day, because I didn't know that he was there in theater, and he was, you know what? that day he flew in because he had to get bi-monthly blood screenings for his cancer. He was a cancer survivor, was non-deployable, got a waiver to be deployed, had to get bi-monthly blood screenings for his cancer. So the first time that I saw him, he was coming back from Baghdad Hospital and was stopping over and was going to hitch a ride with one of the medevacs. That's what it was that day. The second time I saw him was at Thanksgiving, where he flew in with his Kiowa. A couple of them flew in with their Kiowas. But that day, so I had a mission that day. I flew that day, and we were taxiing back in to park, and you never knew where you were going to park because you didn't know where everybody else parked. You just found an open parking spot. Well, when you got transferred from tower to ground to your company CP, when you're going to company CP, you're like just letting them know that you're here, and they asked me what parking spot I'm going to, and I said, "Don't know. I'll let you know when I get there, Hook." And over the radio, somebody goes, "Who is a fucking Ranger word, soldier?" And I'm like, "Who's cussing over the radio?" Like over the CP radio. I'm like, "Who's cussing over the radio?" So anyway, I got in. We turned the aircraft off. We did all our post-flight shutdown and whatnot. And my crew chief was in the back. I think it was Chris Buckles. It may have been Chris Buckles. But anyway, my crew chief was in the back. He's like, "Mr. Weaver, open up your door." I'm like, I got to wait till the rotor system stops. He said, "It's almost stopped. Open your door. We got the blades." And I was like, let me get a couple stuff done. He's like, "Mr. Weaver, open your door." I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck?" And I opened my door, and my brother was standing right there. So that was cool. And I was like, he took a picture, and I can't find that picture to save my life, but I do have a picture after that. But he took a picture of me. My genuine reaction, I was like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing here?" My hands, you can see my hands like this. I was just shocked. It was one of the coolest moments. And we got to spend the rest of the day together. We got to chill, and then that afternoon, close to dark, he ended up getting on a medevac and heading back over, and did our thing for a bit. And on January 2nd in 2004, Kimberly Hampton, Captain Kimberly Hampton, was flying a mission and was shot down, and she was killed in action. Her co-pilot survived. I believe they were co-pilots. I can't remember if they were co-pilots at the time or it was a dual aircraft, dual pilot aircraft. Anyway, she was shot down, killed in action. And the D Troop, which was, I think it was D Troop, for the Apaches, the company commander essentially for the Apaches, was a very good friend of Kimberly Hampton. So I got assigned a mission to fly her over to Al Taqaddum, which was southwest of Fallujah, to hit her memorial service on January 4th. And interestingly enough, and on the irony side of things, we didn't get to talk about this at lunch, but James, who was our battalion commander, what an amazing Jim Schroet. I planned a flight mission, and she had just been shot down south of Fallujah. Chinook had just been shot down south of Fallujah. People were getting hit in a certain area, and I've planned my mission to go over our normal visual checkpoints there. And he said, "Ryan, we need to mitigate the risk on this. And I want you to fly north of the city instead of south of the city." So I changed my flight plan to go to the north of the city, and we ended up flying in. Got to see Aaron that day. It was really cool. I got him in the cockpit, and he's like, "All these buttons and switches and stuff that you got in here." It was really one of the first times ever that I get emotional talking about this every time, that he showed me that he respected me as an aviator, and his little brother's like, "Holy crap, my little brother's doing this," which was cool. It was cool. But we got a photo that day, and he gave me I was going to shake his hand because he used to be a handshaker, and he said, "Give me a hug." I remember he said, "Let's take a picture for posterity and give me a hug." I remember that like it was yesterday. Anyway, they never found a camera because on I never got that picture because on January 8th, actually, let me digress. January 6th, he got accepted. He sent me a message over Yahoo Instant Messenger. We had a little internet cafe that he had been accepted into the Task Force 160th Accession program. And all the folks out there that just got to see the Medal of Honor recipient in W5, that during the State of the Union, Night Stalker 160th guy, for all of you folks that aren't military that are watching this. The elite of the elite aviators.
Elite.
They are. They're the best that there is. And anyway, but he got accepted into that sessions program. I don't think that I would have ever done that, so that may have been a footstep I didn't follow in because I just wasn't that great of an aviator. But and I didn't really like it that much, to be honest with you. It was anyway, whatever. But it was cool to say I was an aviator, but I just wasn't great at it.
I'm sure you were.
Anyway, so we exchanged after I flew back. We exchanged messages. He had been accepted, and then he was planning on coming to see me the next day because he had to go back to get another bi-monthly blood screening done, and he was going to fly in with a medevac helicopter, or excuse me, on the 9th. He said, I'm going to come over on the 9th, and if you could take a couple of days off, we could spend a couple of days together because I'm going to ask if I can be, taken off to missions. And I talked to the company commander, and he's like, absolutely. I love, because he hung out in our company CP the whole time while I was flying on that mission that day. He got to sit with everybody for about 10 hours, which was crazy. Anyway, so he was, he actually ended up getting on January 8th, getting on a medevac helicopter early, and he flew over one of those checkpoints that I planned just a few days before that I was supposed to fly over, in the trail aircraft, and was shot down and killed in action. He was in a passenger medevac helicopter, and everybody on board was killed in action. So I found out the next morning, and I ended up leaving Baghdad that day. I don't want to get into a long drawn out story about how I found out and all that kind of stuff. It was the worst day of my life, and will always be the worst day of my life. I came close the second time, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but that was the worst day of my life. And I think I was a completely different person after that. It sucked. It felt like it sucked the soul out of me for instantly that happened, because my entire life I'd followed in his footsteps, and he was my standard of success. And all of a sudden now, I mean, Steve was my oldest brother, was his standard of success, and Aaron was my standard of success, because it was really hard to actually reach Steve's level of success. And Aaron, most of the time, excelled past it and whatnot. But anyway, flew back home to his funeral, and then went back to Germany and never went back to combat again. And I never flew after the day that I flew that day. That was the last time I flew a Black Hawk. It took me 2 years to look up in the sky when I knew because you get used to the rotor system sounds. And it took me 2 years to even look at this up in the sky, or even look at a Black Hawk. But I got restationed to Fort Rucker as a TAC officer at Warrant Officer Candidate School. And you want to talk about facing every memory that you had, driving down the highway going to Florida, where we lived in West Central Florida, singing Creed's Higher, doing that the last, couple months. He lived with me the last month and a half that he was in flight school, driving past Blackhawks, helicopters, Blackhawks flying over all the time, taps playing every day. I mean, Taps is the worst song as far as I'm concerned. It's beautifully heartbreaking, I guess is the best way of saying it.
Perfect way to
but
say
it crushes my soul every time. I lose it every time I hear that song. But so I had to really face that loss head on. And the way that I did that was by training, putting the passion and the pain into training candidates in Warrant Officer Candidate School, because I looked at every candidate that I was training as they were potentially going to be filling the boots in the seat that he was no longer filling. So I put a lot of my heart into that, and it was an all-consuming situation, because that was the way that I dealt with it, and it wasn't. I feel that it was partially healthy, but there was also a lot of unhealthy stuff in there, and denial and a lot of stuff, because it still didn't seem real. Anyway, so then I started doing. I did Fort Rutgers Military Idol Competition. I don't know if you remember, but they had military-wide. They had an idol competition like American Idol. Let me digress. In flight school, I was broke and getting a divorce, and I was doing singing competitions and karaoke competitions and winning. And it helped me pay my bills. If I won a television or something like that, I'd take it to the pawn shop and hawk it off. But I was winning, and it was something that, I mean, I'm in my late 20s. I had no idea it was something that I was good at or that I was capable of doing it. Yeah. But I was winning, and I loved it. It was something that I was like, wow, this is, I mean, awesome. And it's something I've never done before. So anyway, then in Baghdad, I started writing. And that was really because I've always written. I was always done poetry and stories and, you know, that kind of thing. So I started writing songs in Baghdad. There was somebody brought a guitar over and we were writing together. So it was kind of cool. Going back over. So then I did that military idol competition. I started doing singing competitions again. And I already had this plan. When I started doing the military idol competition, I was doing pretty well. I already started developing a plan at that point to, how to market my name. Started looking online to see what was the route that everybody, you know, was taking and how they were doing it. And I had a marketing mind. I mean, as a recruiter, I learned to sell, you know, something that somebody couldn't test drive and give back. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, you had to make a $1 million investment essentially, and regardless of whether you liked it or not, you ate that $1 million. Right. And I was really good at doing that as a recruiter. So I figured out, I already had my brand. I already started my plan. And the biggest obstacle that I had to get over was finding a band to play with. And since I was the runner-up I ended up getting runner-up in the military idol competition. I didn't win it. And the winner went to nationals. And when he went to nationals, it was Fort Rutgers' 50th anniversary celebration that weekend. And since I was the runner-up, they said, hey, since you're the runner-up, why don't you open up for Darryl Worley and Tracy Lawrence for the Fort Rutgers 50th anniversary celebration? I said, cool. Now I got up there and all I did was, you know, I had karaoke tracks to sing to. I had no band. So essentially I had backing tracks that were, you know, that everybody uses now on stage, even for live performances with a band. Yeah. So do I, but I mean, it's part of it. But not the full song, just track. But these were the full songs, just like I sang to in karaoke bars. So I took a couple of my favorite songs. I said, you got 7 songs to sing, which is actually a pretty long set for an opener. And I met the Army band. We actually played on a different field, but they were all the entertainment and all that stuff was on that field, and then the big stage was on the field next to it. So I still consider myself the opening act because I was the one right before all of them started. So anyway, the Army band played, I believe it was right before me, and all of them were non-commissioned officers that were playing in the Fort Rutgers Army band, and then a rock band off post, because the Fort Rucker had a rock band and a regular band. So they had the rock band that did entertainment stuff. And they came up to me afterwards like, hey, we've been playing in all the bars around here, and everybody keeps saying we need to get country music into our mix because they were more of a classic rock band. Are you interested in fronting our band? And I said, absolutely. I said, do you mind if we change the name and I market what you guys are doing? And so all we care about is playing music and making money, you know, extra cash in our pockets. So that was a Saturday. And the next Thursday, I did my first 4-set night in a bar with an actual live band. And we only rehearsed once in between there.
That's wow.
But I mean, I had all these songs memorized. Although I was doing karaoke, I never looked at the words because I was performing it. Sure. So they added in the country music songs that I like to do, some of the rock songs that I like to do, like Kryptonite and those kind of things. Yeah. So we had a bunch of Creed, all those things. We added that stuff into the mix. And I set a goal for myself at that and said every 6 months, I'm going to move to a bigger size venue and I'm not going to go back. So we were playing the bars and that stuff. And I was reaching out to all the small clubs around the area and all the small, and you know, we weren't making any money. We were making just enough to essentially pay for gas. And there were a lot of times where I didn't make any money and I just paid the band. And I had 3 guys behind me. And we're playing all over Northern Florida, Georgia, Southern Alabama, all of Alabama. This thing loves me. Did you see that? Did you see that?
It's like a ghost.
It went right
pushed
for
over the
me.
microphone.
I'm just going to leave it right here because it seems like it's in a good place. Does that sound okay still? Okay, cool. It's like, man, I haven't ever had something thrown at my face like that. Anyway,
Talking to the mic.
what's that?
Talking to the mic.
Talking to the mic.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I'm talking?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so sorry. But anyway, so I moved to meet smaller size clubs, and then as I was doing those clubs, I said I'm gonna move to medium sized clubs, and then once I moved to medium sized clubs, I never went back onto the smaller ones, and then. One of the things I have to digress on is this way as well. Had a commandant of the Warrant Officer Career College named Mark Jones, Colonel Jones, and he was one of my big fans during the military idol competition. And he ended up coming and being a commandant. And one of the things that he saw my potential when it came to this music thing. And every time I got a new boss, he'd take him into the office and he said, as long as Ryan's doing his job, teaching in the classroom, doing what he's supposed to do, keeping up standards, showing up, doing what he's supposed to do, let him do his thing. Mm-hmm. So if he needs to take a pass, if he's done his job, let him take a pass. And had it not been for Mark Jones, I would have never gotten to where I went to. Never. And he's just one of the many people along the line that stepped in and believed in me and supported my dream, because I was living this dream in Aaron's honor and every time I got on stage, I was telling a story. So then they saw this military idol competition came out in a newspaper down the line. They call him singing soldier on the front page of the Dothan Eagle. And there's a band called 231 South that was playing with a guy named Shane Owens down there at the time. And Shane got a record deal, moved to Nashville. 231 South stayed down in Georgia. And then they had gone through a couple lead singers. I found out why. They went through me as well. They just were shitty people. But I don't know if they're even alive now, so I can probably say that because they were all pretty old at the time, but they were just shitty people. But they already had all these super large clubs booked, like the Whiskey and Make in Georgia, the Whiskey River in Pensacola. I think it's Pensacola. Anyway, then we started playing all the huge clubs and the festivals and those kind of things. And then I never went back to the small clubs again, or the medium clubs again. So, and then once I fired them, I was playing at Cowboys in Dothan. That was one of the bigger clubs. I guess that was the big stepping stone. I fired them, and then the last show I did for them was on New Year's that same year. Then I got asked to do to open for. I was at that point. I started developing a fan base in Central Florida and Northern Florida and whatnot. And then I went back to my hometown. And I got asked to play at a place called Rock Crusher Canyon in Citrus County, and I got to open for. Montgomery Gentry and Trace Adkins, and then that pretty much started boosting my career. And in this entire time, I'm traveling back and forth to Nashville, networking and doing things. And so, yeah, traveling back and forth to Nashville, and there are a lot of folks out there. This is one of the things for me that my give a damn was busted on a long time ago. I love that song, My Give a Damn's Busted. But my give a damn was busted on a long time ago. Everybody deals with death and loss, and you got military service members who go through, like you did, so a lot of shit that I don't know how I would have ever dealt with if I had to deal with it firsthand. If one of my best friends that I'd known, in my unit died next to me, or I watched him, or all that kind of a trauma. I don't know how I would have dealt with that. I did not deal with my brother's death well. It like I said, it sucked my soul out. And I stayed at Rucker for the remainder of my career. I never flew again after that. I never got back in a cockpit. With exception to when my brother-in-law, Randy Billings, who was one of my students, became a Black Hawk pilot as well. He married my sister while he was at Rucker. And, or I'm not at Rucker, he got restationed, they got married anyway. But he was a Black Hawk pilot as well. And he showed me around. They had MHs with the glass cockpits and all that kind of stuff. I was flying in the old ones, the Alpha Charlie models. Anyway, so that was the first time I got in a Black Hawk cockpit since Aaron had died. and even gotten around them. But I was traveling back and forth to Nashville, networking, doing all that. And then, I was getting near the end of my rope of whether I was going to have to get restationed again. And I was at just over 20 years, and I could have stayed in for however long I was. I mean, it's only 39 at 20 years. So, or 21 years, I retired at 39. But, I decided at that point, because of the amount of time that I was spending in Nashville and networking that I was doing, that I needed to take that leap. With the only safety net being my military retirement check, my post 9/11 Montgomery GI Bill. I didn't want to get a corporate job. I didn't want to sit at a desk. I wanted to pursue this dream, and I didn't feel that I had reached where I wanted to reach, which was top 40 radio, touring and the big tours, all those kind of things and whatnot. So I moved to Nashville, and turns out that when I moved to Nashville, they call it a 10-year town for a reason. I don't know. Mm-hmm. They call it here right outside of Nashville, by the way. They call it a 10-year town. It usually takes about 10 years for you to get your network in and your feet on the ground and establish the lifestyle that you are comfortable with living. And the first year I met my wife, Kara, and I up until this was probably at the 8-month or 10-month mark, I believe it was, that I met her. And I was a barback at the Wild Horse Saloon at 39. I was a personal trainer. I was going to college full time for the first time since God knows when. And that's how I was paying my bills. And I also was taking care of some youngins that were in high school and middle school at the time, or high school at the time. And I don't talk a whole lot about my kids because I don't like them being in the spotlight by any stretch of imagination. I've wanted them protected their entire lives. So that's all you're going to hear about my kids. Anyway, I was back to E1 pay, essentially. Broke off my ass. I met my wife. And another awesome situation, just like the Mark Jones situation. We ended up moving in together, and I was going to college still full-time, still bar backing. But I moved down to Franklin. So you're looking at a, 25-minute drive into work, and then I'm working till 3:00 in the morning. And then, it really, I wasn't doing music at all. There was no time. I was working 18 hours a day, if not more. And there's sometimes I would go to work, after 2 hours of getting, or 2 hours after getting off work, I had to train somebody at 5:00 in the morning. Anyway, so her dad, she's a corporate meeting planner, and her dad called me to his house and said, "Hey, Ryan, come to the house. I want to chat with you a second." He said, "Ryan, I know you came to Nashville to do music, and I noticed that you're not doing any music." He said, "Why is that?" And I said, "Well, I got bills to pay, and I can't try to, I can't do writing sessions if I got to go to work. I can't do writing sessions if I got to do school, because school's, BAH is paying, basic allowance for housing is paying my bills. I can't do any of that if I got to pay the bills." And he said, "Well, how much money do you need a month to pay your bills?" And I said, "I need this much. This is my budget every month to pay my bills, and, to have a little bit extra so I could take care out to dinner and all that." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what. You come and work in our office, and I will pay you that. If you work 3 hours a week or 80 hours a week, I will pay you that salary so that you can get back into doing music. But you have to promise me you'll do that."
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, and he wasn't even my father-in-law at the time.
He believed in you.
He did, and you guys are going to get a lot of this.
That's what this room is for.
Yeah, but my wife and my father-in-law saved my music career, because I don't know if I could have gotten out of that. And they say Nashville. See, I came to Nashville in 2007 or something, like 2007 or 8 or something, and I went to a George Jones University out at his ranch. Essentially, it was just $300, pay $300 to hand your business card out and listen to speakers that tell you about the music business and that kind of stuff, networking opportunity. It was actually one of the most beneficial things investments and that I've had in country music, because there was a guy named Wayne Halper that got on stage. He was one of the first people that spoke. And Wayne Halper he was I believe the COO of Capitol Records when Garth Brooks took off. So he got to see his skyrocket to stardom. And he at the time, though, he was an entertainment attorney, but he was one of those entertainment attorneys that essentially was, I felt, because he started working with me a little bit, felt that he was just taking advantage of independent artists if they had any money to be able to take advantage of. I don't know, but he gave some amazing advice. He said, there are 1,000 people that come to Nashville a day with a guitar and a dream. And there are 1,000 people that leave Nashville with an empty guitar case because they had to sell it to get back home because they didn't learn about the music business. And the second piece of advice that he gave me that was the most, that was incredible. He said, Nashville doesn't care about how talented you are necessarily, because we can make you sound like anybody. We can make you sound perfect on the radio. We can put fake tracks behind you. We can get musicians that are all the pros. We can auto-tune you to whatever. He said, Nashville cares about how many records you can sell and how much meat you can put in seats. Because it's really called the music business, not the music passion. Yeah. I mean, your passion and your drive is going to keep you here, or is going to keep you here for a certain amount of time. But you got to have the money. If you can't figure out how to, and the third piece of advice that he gave us was the business is about who you know and how much money you have. Yeah. You could put 10 cents into $1 million widget marketing wise, and you're going to make no money, and you're going to lose that $1 million you invested into that widget. Or you can put $1 million into a 10-cent widget and make $10 million off of it. Yeah. And that's what the music business is about. So anyway, having that, the capabilities of going to writing, having that mindset of the marketing side of it, the networking side of it, really started advancing my career. Put out Crank It, my music video Crank It. That's roundabout when you and I met. Yeah. That's when we met, roundabout when we met the first time. That's 2012 that came out. And that was all over the Nashville Network and Zeus Country and all that. And that's really where I started getting invited to go to places like Valentino's where you were working and all that. That's where I got invited to go to the parties where all the cool kids were, because I had a music video that was doing pretty well. And then I, in 2014, got involved with the Charlie Daniels group. Got invited to do a Journey Home Project event at the Palm, and I spoke and sang a couple songs at the Journey Home Project event. And David Corlew, Charlie Daniels' manager, once again another opportunity where someone stepped in to help me out. He said, "Ryan, let's go have some breakfast and talk about talk about your career." So we went and sat and had breakfast. And he said, "Ryan, I gotta ask you, why are you not telling your story? And why are you not singing any songs about your story?" He said, "Country music fans can see right through the bullshit. They can see through they can see if you're contrived. They can see if you're fake. If you've got enough money behind you, sure, that's okay, because they're going to buy your songs on radio. But otherwise, you have to be able to, people need to be able to connect to you. In some way. And if you don't have the investors there," he said, you need to start telling your story." So that was the beginning of that relationship. And they asked me to do the Volunteer Jam with Charlie Daniels. And if anybody's not familiar with the Volunteer Jam, he started in 1969 with the original Lynyrd Skynyrd. And that was the 50th anniversary of Volunteer Jam, I think it was. Yeah, 50th anniversary of Volunteer Jam. Or 40th, I can't remember. But they offered for me to play in between Ted Nugent and Michael W. Smith. If anybody doesn't know who Michael W. Smith is, he's one of the biggest Christian artists of all time. And anyway, and of course everybody knows who Ted Nugent is. Yeah. But they said, "Ryan, you got 2 minutes to tell your story real quick about Aaron and I skipped something here. I got to go back to 2013. Sorry, guys. I was waiting. I got to go back to 2013 because that brings this up. So anyway, my wife and I are on a meeting for one of our corporate meetings, and right before we flew out, my sister Ashley said, "Ryan, I'm worried. Randy calls me every day from Afghanistan. He was in Afghanistan." He said, Randy's
his other brother.
Randy's my brother-in-law. He was the student that I talked about, who was one of my candidates that married my sister. Anyway, he She said, he calls me every day, and I got a text message from him, and this was the text message. It was just a bunch of numbers and letters. Like he had accidentally pushed his, the phone and sent it. It pushed all the numbers on his keypad and sent it. She said, and they had just shown on the news that a Marine helicopter had been shot down in Afghanistan. And gotta love the news. Half-ass information, never tells you what's there. They just want the clickbait. They did the same thing for Aaron. They just said a Black Hawk had been shot down west of Baghdad. Anyway, so I'm like, he's okay. It's a Marine helicopter. You're good. Obviously, he's not a Marine. You're fine. And we went to that site visit, as what it's called. Go to a hotel to check it out, and we get done with the tour of the hotel, and we get back to the hotel room, and I've got 8 calls from her on my phone, and I knew right away. And that was the second worst day of my life. And my wife we were not here. She didn't know me when Aaron died, but she got to watch me curl up in a ball like a little baby on a hotel room floor, screaming at the top of my lungs, because Ashley didn't deserve that. I was friends with Randy, and I really liked him, and he was a great guy. I wasn't super close with him, but Ashley didn't deserve that. She's as good as it gets. And my wife got to see me go through that all over again. This one was a little bit different in that, you could see this 2013, I still cry about when I talk about that day. It was a little bit different because I knew, and I had spoken several times about loss to other folks who had lost military service members. And one of the points that I've made to folks that have lost somebody like that was that the moment that you decide to live your life in their honor, as opposed to letting that loss drag you down and be a setback in your life, 1 million pounds of weight gets lifted off your shoulders. And I knew that I couldn't wallow in my sorrow about losing Randy, and that my sister was going through what she was going through the same way that I do with Aaron, because it hit me not as hard, but it hit me hard. I mean, it still hits me hard. Yeah. And he was the first person that got me back to sit in the cockpit of a Black Hawk. And just a great guy. But anyway, so we went through a whole nother military funeral again in my home county. He's buried 7 stones over and 1 row back from my brother, Aaron. They're buried right next to each other. So now let me go back to the point that I was making about, what was it, the 2 of them? Oh, what was it? I can't remember where I was on that point, but both brothers at that, tell my story, talking about both my brothers doing tell the stories in Bridgestone Arena. You got 2 minutes to tell the stories about both of them, and then you get your song to sing, which is What You Think of Me. You guys can go check out the video. It took me 20 years to release that video, but we released it in 2024 on the last day I saw Aaron alive in Iraq on January 6th or on January 4th, and did 2 videos, by the way. There's a director's cut and a performance cut. The director's cut's a long one, but it's a great storyline. So then I sang What You Think of Me, and had 2 Marines come up to the front. We're bawling, hugging each other right in front of the stage. And but the coolest thing about that was, and this is like everything happens for a reason. I always say that. Ted Nugent played before me, and he did Cat Scratch Fever as his last song. He's melting people's faces, man. I'm about to get up there and sing a ballad. I mean, it's a love song to my brother, essentially. And I'm going to sing a ballad. And they told me I had 2 minutes to talk. Well, when his band walked off stage, they turned off all their amps, they unplugged their guitars, they did all that, and it just so happens they were using the house band's amps and all that, and all of a sudden I was supposed to have Sean Hannity introduce me. Stormy Warren introduced me instead. Sean Hannity's voice, he was losing his voice and to get back on television next day. He left early, and we were expecting him to introduce Sean Hannity to bring me out. Well, he introduced me, and Six Wire was the backing band, and they're like, oh crap, we're all standing next to the stage. Ted walks off stage. They're like, hey, I've never met you before. Can I get a photo? It's kind of cool. And one of my heroes. And so they get up on stage, and they're like, my guys are going up with them because I had Trey McCampbell and Craig Wilson, God rest his soul. He passed away a couple years ago as well. But anyway, Trey McCampbell, my best friend, he's up there. He's like, Ryan, like we have to tune and whatnot. And when he said my name, he's like, and Stormy's up there talking, UH-60 Blackhawk pilot, 2-time Gold Star family. And he's like, we got to tune, we got to turn. I mean, the amps are not, like the tube's got to warm up and all these things. So I walk on, and he's like, Ryan, and I think David Corlew or somebody was on stage, and they said, Ryan, draw it out until we tell you it's time to go. So instead of having 2 minutes to talk, I probably had 5 minutes to talk. And I got to get a little bit more detailed of the story, which I think was awesome to be able to do that. And got my first standing ovation from a sold out Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee, which was from an arena. I mean, I had gotten standing ovation before, but from a sold out arena to get a standing ovation after singing that song. It was
probably not a dry eye.
What's that?
Probably not a dry eye.
Oh, I mean, it was so massive. Like that was my first arena. I mean, I played the Ryman Auditorium before that,
which is great.
I played the Ryman before that one, and I think we got a stand. No, we didn't get it. That was just we did Christmas songs, so it wasn't like it's typical Christmas song stuff. Doing covers, yeah. But anyway, and I got to open for Charlie Daniels on that one too. So that was my first standing ovation, and after that we started. Actually, that night I met John Tigan and Mark Geist, two of the Benghazi survivors, and they're promoting 13-Hour Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. And I had my song "Burn." You guys can go check out the music video.
That's what it was.
"Burn," yeah, okay, yeah.
That's what it was.
In front of the helicopter.
That's what it was.
The album cover, yeah.
Yeah.
So "Burn," we got. Had a song already written, but it was written more for just generic military. And, we changed a couple of the lyrics, and John Tigan and Mark Geist were trying to, or John Tigan, more so than Mark Geist, was trying to get it to Paramount because they were in the final editing stages of the film. They were promoting the film, but it hadn't been done. I didn't know if they'd done the score to it or not. So I'm like, can we get this in the film? And by the time that John could get it to the people that were handling the score, it was already done, and they weren't doing any licensed stuff. They were doing generic score for it, so we didn't get it in there. But John Tigan got Paramount to authorize me to use the trailer clips from the film, and we released the music video. We got John Tigan involved in the music video. Chris Peranto, Tonto in 13 Hours. He did the job, if you guys remember that. Got them in the music video. All law enforcement, first responder, military, and military family cast. I know my story's a little bit long here. Sorry, dude.
I was giving an eye.
But
you're good. But here all night.
But
order us dinner.
Anyway, they got involved in the music video, and we released that. In that music video, we got, if you guys are watching, there are several $100,000 to $1 million scenes in that music video that I could never have afforded, and they counted as promotion towards the movie, and so we signed a licensing agreement to be able to use their trailer clips, and I didn't have to pay a dime for it. They used it as a marketing thing, as a favor to John Tigan. Yeah. So John Tigan really was the reason why that music video came out. It was also the reason why my career really skyrocketed at that point, because I got a gig from that video to play a show out in Colorado at Freedom Fest in Littleton, Colorado. And I was opening for Dokken, Warrant, and Jack Russell's Great White. And they, let's just say that Dokken are a bunch of dicks. At least Don Dokken is a dick. And I don't have a problem telling anybody that publicly. Yeah. They always say don't talk shit about other artists, but I'm going to tell you why Don Dokken's a dick. Don Dokken was at a nonprofit event for veterans, and I was the only veteran on the bill. and we're there to raise money for veterans at a motorcycle rally. And Don Dokken is the headliner. And I'm 3 songs into my set, and we're supposed to do a live auction in the middle of my show to raise money. I'm 3 songs into my set, and I'm on the front of the stage performing, and Dokken's manager comes on stage while we're performing and tells my band, you guys are done, get the fuck off stage, Dokken will not start late, because the local acts ran a little bit long. I didn't know that he even came on stage. I turned around, we're going to the next song, and Trey comes up to me and says, Ryan, Dokken's manager said, we got to get the fuck off stage, we're done. Those were his exact words. Since we can say fuck on this podcast, I normally don't say that on normal podcasts. Is it right?
Yeah. Hey, Don. You're a dick.
Oh,
Yeah.
but it's Dokken. It's not you, man. It's not you.
Dokken, you're a dick.
But anyway, so I said, oh, no. That's not happening. So I went on the front of stage, and my wife is filming, and I don't drop F-bombs on stage. I mean, most of my shows are family friendly, those kind of things. And but I figure we're at an 80s rock concert at a biker rally at a bar, and I thought it was pretty safe. And I said, fuck this. And I said, Dokken's manager just came on stage and told me 3 songs into a 45-minute set, the only veteran on this fucking bill, that I got to get off stage because Dokken will not start late. Dokken was the headliner of that concert, and I'm the opener, and I'm telling him to go fuck himself. And my wife she dropped her phone, and she's like, what? What's going on? What just happened? Then I could see the guy who brought me in there, like he loved us. Like we had been at his Freedom Fest the year before. He's running through the crowd. He's like, Ryan, I did not tell them to cut your set short, because he knew we were going to do the live auction. And they had a live auction item that was going to raise potentially tens of thousands of dollars for this nonprofit. They paid me good money to be there. They flew me into Colorado to do that. They put us up in hotel rooms. They treated us like rock stars. I mean, and this guy's telling me I've got 3 songs in my set and we can't even finish it. I didn't even get to do Burn, and Mark Geist drove 2.5 hours to stand on stage with me to do the song. So anyway, I did my little rant, and we finished the set. It just so happened that the CEO of Professional Bull Riders was in the front row and the sponsor of the concert. And I go off to the side of the stage afterwards, and I'm signing autographs and, and talking to folks and whatnot, and trying to get up to my merch booth so that I can sign autographs at the merch booth, because I told them at the end, hey, I got merch, I'll sign anything you buy. And so they were all getting autographs before I could even get out from behind the gate. And I didn't know who Sean was. He walks up to me, hands me his business card, and says, hey, I work with the PBR. I love your story, because we did What You Think of Me. An acoustic version of What You Think of Me. And you love your story. I love your background. I love your show. I love your grit. I love that you're straight. I love that you're honest and you don't pull punches, and that you're not afraid. He said, we've got big plans for the 2018 season that I'd really love to get you involved in. I had no idea what I was about to experience. I had no idea. So I went up and I signed autographs and whatever. He came up, bought a t-shirt and a CD. I signed it for him. And, I'm talking, I don't, one of the things that when I'm signing merch and whatnot, talking to folks, I'm not looking for the next person that's coming down, and I try to give them as much time as possible, because they bought tickets to come and see me. They're buying merchandise of mine. They're buying songs that I wrote. I want to give them the time. Obviously, you can't give everybody all the time that they want, but I'm not looking over somebody, and so I went back to the bus, and I was like, hey, I had a guy from the PBR sitting, and I knew the PBR did nothing but arenas, like massive arenas. And I looked at his card, and it says, and I was like, holy shit, it's the CEO of the PBR. Like the guy that runs the whole freaking thing. So I went out to him, and Warren is doing their sound check. I went out to him. I said, sir, I apologize. I didn't know you were out to spend a little bit more time. He said, no, Ryan, I want to tell you something. The Professional Bull Riders looks at every single one of their fans like they're the most important person. There's no fan that we look at or that we treat any differently than any other. And I sat there and I watched how you treat the people that are in front of you. You're not looking over their shoulder for something bigger. You're not trying, you even when they're being obnoxious or wanting you to sign their boob or whatever it is, you're accommodating, and you're kind to people. And he said, and that's what the Western culture is about. You're going to be a perfect fit for what we're looking for. So,
and I was born.
And that was 2006. 2006, 2016. In 2016, the World Finals, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith was the headliner. And we wrote a 4-song album, Celebrate America EP. And at the 2017 World Finals, we released that Celebrate America EP, and I was the headliner at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And my first show in 2018 was Madison Square Garden.
That is amazing.
And we did 28 arena shows for the next 2 years. They sent me to Australia. They sent me international twice to Australia to perform. I loved those people over there. It was cool. It was cool to go there twice and do it. But yeah, in the entrepreneurship, while I was at AT&T, I performed at AT&T Stadium in front of the biggest crowd of PBRs ever had, 41,000. They had at the time. I don't know if they've exceeded that, but it was a record crowd, 41,000. Lane Boots, Cowboy Boots Company was at
I remember your boots.
Yep. Lane Boots Cowboy. They're a cowboy boot company out of Fort Worth, Texas. The CEO of the company was at a press conference, and I had a pair of corral boots that I had leather dyed red, white, and blue. And I remember seeing all of it. And she came up to me and said, Ryan, what do you think about having your own cowboy boot line? So they designed my own cowboy boot line, and I believe, and because it's what they said, I'm the first independent artist without a record deal, no song on the radio, no formal management, to ever have my own pair of cowboy boots in Boot Barn on the shelves on Broadway in Nashville.
While you're performing in MSG
wow.
and T-Mobile Arena, baby. And I was just at T-Mobile Arena for UFC. That is a huge venue.
Yeah, it's massive. And then, then I was fortunate enough to do some really cool things like, perform with Huckabee at Bridgestone Arena as well. And, we just, I've had incredible opportunities to be a veteran entrepreneur, to be a business owner, to find success in the music business at a later age, because a lot of folks are getting started in their teens and then they move into country music business or have family connections. And it really has a great deal to do with people taking chances, people seeing potential and taking chances on me, or providing an opportunity for me to be able to be successful in that regard. And, if I left the music business today, I can look back at the resume that I've got and say that there are a few accomplishments I still would love to make. Like, I got to go on the tour, but I have never gone on a tour bus. I always flew to my shows. I've never been on a tour bus for a tour. I've never been with like a Jason Aldean or something like that, opening for them on tour around the nation, that kind of thing. I'd love to do that.
Aldean, where you at, brother?
Yeah, anybody that's not a dick, I'd love to come and go on tour with you, because I'd love to.
Stephen Cochran's off. Hey, we got.
You're gonna do that here.
We got 5 minutes to bring this home. Listen, man, you've had an amazing story. Like, we can all agree to that. With your story, everything you've been through, bring us home to the fact that, especially with your losses, your personal losses, the people that are listening, obviously their story is not your story, but the pain matches. The stories don't match, but the pain matches. So somebody going through their darkest time right now listening, take us home in the next about 2-3 minutes. Tell them what they need to hear from somebody who has been there, the world collapsed, and then found success and I don't know the word I'm looking for. Forgive me. Success and
overcame the obstacle of loss, overcame that dark hole.
Overcame that loss of, like, I don't know how to breathe, to, now I've made it and I'm honoring him and I'm doing everything I can to keep his memories alive. So somebody who's going through that, bring us home with that.
I guess as far as if you're still in that dark place, I like to call it the 2 Ps: find your purpose and find your passion. Find something that you've loved. If you don't know what that is, look back and in your past and find something that you did love. And even if it takes baby steps to get there, even it takes like, oh, I used to really love to write. Try it, get into it, find it. And then, and your purpose, my purpose, like I said, the moment that I decided to live my life in Aaron and Randy's honor, it lifted 1 million pounds of weight off my shoulders. And it is never always okay. Like I'm never always okay all the time. There are my moments. January is the worst month for me every single year. So you're going to have those moments, and it's okay to have those moments. And the best thing is, I can tell you, the best thing is when you're in those moments, don't be afraid to reach out and talk to somebody. Don't be afraid of the stigma. Don't be afraid of what people are going to think of you, because we always hear about this, specifically to the veterans, the 22 a day, which is an inaccurate number, but it is a number. You're hearing about this, and it seems to happen to the people that you would think they're the people that are pushing for you to reach out. And then they're the ones that end up taking their lives, because they're the ones that are supposed to be the strong ones. They're the ones that are supposed to be the people that they're carrying everybody else on their shoulders. Well, that burden is what ends up taking them out, because they think that they're supposed to be the strong one and not reach out. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And I know if you're in that spot, it sucks and it hurts. And why do you want to feel that way? And I always used to say, and I'll say this is the last thing, I always used to say that I don't want to hurt any less, because it'll make me feel as if I love my brother less. That is a perception of someone who it's fresh to, but it's also a perception that 1,000% changes when you decide that you can take whatever situation that you're in and use it as a motivator, as opposed to a giant weight on your shoulders.
Man, that's powerful. Thank you so much for tuning in again. You can find Ryan Weaver on his socials, ryanweaver.net.
Yep, ryanweaver.net. All my socials are on there.
ryanweaver.net. Weaver Country.
Yeah.
Your man is a rock star. Listen, if you ever want to sit in the studio here, if you're in Murfreesboro or can get to Murfreesboro, we'd love to have you on the Alpha Mirror. Go to thealphamirror.com, fill out all the information, and you will get a phone call from us. Ryan, thank you once again. Love to have you back. So much more. We can't fit it in.
Sorry, I talked too much.
The time frame that we're allowed. But ask yourself one question: what is one lie you keep telling yourself that you wish wasn't true? And then come on the show.
Thank you for listening to the Alpha Mirror podcast. Remember, the mirror never lies. It reflects the man you choose to become. So this week, ask yourself, what will my reflection say about me? Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. Join me on this journey to redefine what it means to be an alpha. Until next time, keep facing the mirror, because that's where the alpha is born.